Hi, my name is Monica GAUDIER-DIAZ, and I am a teaching assistant professor in the Department of Psychology and Neuroscience at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Our department is housed between Davey Hall and Howell Hall, both of which you are viewing in this recording. They sit next to the Arboretum, which is a nice area to take a walk on a nice day. Inside Davey Hall, you will find our friendly and supportive departmental staff and faculty, together with laboratory space and classrooms. In the recently renovated Howell Hall, there is additional laboratory space, classrooms, and offices for our graduate students and postdocs. I find our department a wonderful place to be and to work in, and I am sure you would too. To learn more about our graduate school programs, stick around to hear a little bit about our graduate students and what we as a university have to offer.
Hi, I'm Sam.
Manny.
Tatum.
Adrian.
We are 4 grad students from UNC Chapel Hill's Social Psych Ph.D. program. So what is social psychology? We define it as the study of real or imagined influences of individuals, groups, or situations on our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. And we study this in a variety of different ways. For example, I'm a first-year student studying moral judgment and decision-making.
I'm also a first-year student, and I study how emotions are created in the brain and body.
Hi, y'all. I'm a 4th-year student studying emotions and social behavior in close relationships and implications of close relationships for health.
Hey, y'all. I'm a 2nd year, and I study how socioeconomic class predicts health, and I also study anti-Black discrimination in hiring and housing. A lot of people say research is me-search. For example, I'm super interested in social justice issues and want to help produce evidence-based solutions to society's problems. And as a social psychology researcher, you can do personally meaningful work, such as this, in collaboration with other smart and helpful people like the people on this call.
So there's many ways that you can get involved in research. For example, working in someone's lab as a research assistant helps you make connections and gain skills that will help you get a research job after college or help you get into graduate school straight out of undergrad.
Speaking of making connections and applying to grad school, the faculty and grad students in our program are very personable. If you're interested in applying to a particular lab, emailing the faculty of that lab is a great way to show your interest and start building relationships with them.
Another awesome way to show that you're interested is attending an academic conference. So you can present your work as an undergrad, and it's also a great way to find people you may be interested in working with.
You should also think about the people that you'll work with in grad school. For example, your advisor is someone whose work you admire, but it's also the person who will be giving you professional and even personal guidance. Make sure the advisor you choose to work with is someone who will be supportive of you.
Another thing to consider is how your grad studies will be funded. So generally, PhD programs are fully funded for 4 or 5 years, and securing funding through grants and fellowships really elevates your grad school applications. Some options for funding here at UNC are the Initiative for Minority Excellence, the Ford Foundation, the National Science Foundation, or the Health Policy Research Scholars.
And one last thing to consider when applying is the social climate. One thing we strive for here at UNC is cultivating a warm and supportive environment. We value creating a sense of community with people you can turn to in good times and in bad. I think that drew all of us to UNC. We don't compete with each other except on our regular game nights, and we like to collaborate with each other. That's what science is all about here at UNC. Thank you all so much. Reach out if you have any questions. Bye.
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 Hi, everyone. I am Chris Strauss, and I'm a 4th year in the quant program. I work with Parekh Curran.
Hi, my name is Marco Chen. I'm a 3rd year student at Quantitative Psychology. I work with Bauer.
Cool. I'm going to start just by answering the question, what is quantitative psychology? Because I think this is something that at least when I was an undergrad, I wasn't really sure that it existed or what it meant. kind of broadly speaking, quantitative psychology is the study of statistics and methods as it applies to the social and behavioral sciences. So much of the time when you enroll or declare a psychology major, you have to take like an intro stats course or a research methods course. And our job as quantitative scientists is to think more deeply about those topics. So a lot of what we do day to day is evaluate statistical methods and develop statistical methods. So we apply things that statisticians have found or things that we have found to psychological data, evaluate how well it works in certain situations. There's also kind of an overlap. There's statistics and methods, and then there's also measurement, which is a big part of quantitative psychology. So test making, test evaluation, exploring how we can use tests to learn about psychological constructs that you might be interested in. With the what? Marka, you want to go with the next step?
Yeah. So what can you do with a degree in quantitative psychology? There are opportunities available in both academics and the industrial world for a degree in quantitative psychology. In terms of academics, if you check American Psychological Association, you will see that they suggest there's a need for people familiar with quantitative methods in psychology research. There's a need for that in many programs, both in the research area and also in the substantive application area. So, faculty in quantitative psychology or researchers in this area can study or develop methodological works. And they're also working with substantive researchers closely in many applied projects, such as analysis for longitudinal data, analysis for test developments and measurement models, or also causal inference. Those are all applied. There are a lot of applied works going on in those areas that needs collaboration from quantitative psychology researchers. And we can also do our own research, focusing on theoretical work or applied method development work that is unique to our own area. So that's academics. And then in terms of in industry opportunities, we have researchers who graduated from this program who work in data analysis, such as Google, Facebook. We also have researchers working in software development, such as SaaS or ETS testing softwares. Those are places like College Boards or ETS as well, and also
All right, so hello, we're all graduate students at UNC, and we're part of the Developmental Psychology program, where we study how people change and grow across the lifespan. Could you all share a little bit about the research that you're currently involved in?
I'm involved in research at the Frank Porter Graham Child Development Institute, where we are looking at the effectiveness of pre-K programs. So we're following a group of kids that attended pre-K and a group of kids that did not into third grade. And we're looking at best practices in the classroom and different kinds of policy changes that might affect children's outcomes.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I work in the lab of Dr. Eva Telzer. And in our lab, we study teenagers. We study how they change across the teenage years, how and why they interact with their peers, why they take risks. And we also study how the brain changes and is related to those changes throughout the teenage years. One thing I'm particularly interested in is studying the brain in diverse contexts. So most of the research we have on the brain, it does not come from very diverse samples. So we're very interested in understanding cross-cultural and diverse contexts as they relate to brain development.
I'm Amanda. I work for Dr. Kathy Proper on the Brain and Early Experiences study. We're following a sample of mothers and their infants from pregnancy through the child's third birthday. And we're interested in the many predictors of child development and neurodevelopment. We're looking at environmental exposures, social exposures, caregiving experience, nutrition, just a wide range of predictors. And I'm especially interested in the influence of chemical exposures like plasticizers and flame retardants on neurodevelopment in early childhood.
And what do you all enjoy most about being a developmental psychology student?
I love developmental psychology because it's kind of a mix of the different kinds of psychology. So we consider cognitive development, social development, even some clinical aspects. And we're just kind of looking at how these things change over time. And this gives us a lot of opportunities to collaborate with people across psychology and in UNC as a whole.
I love being a graduate student because it gives us a lot of freedom where we can choose what topics we want to read about and think about and study. And I really love developmental psychology because I think children are fascinating. I think, as Kylie said, that's kind of a mixture of a lot of psychologies where if we want to understand adults, it's really important to understand all the experiences we had throughout childhood and throughout our adolescence to shape us into the people that we become as adults.
And I also love just getting to work with kids and see how they develop over time and watching them learn new things and grow in our study. And I also love having the opportunity to collaborate across different departments and disciplines at UNC, folks in the public health school and environmental sciences and EPI, and just getting to work with people even across the psychology departments as well, quantitative and social. So I think it's a great place to learn and to be a developmental psychology student.
We look forward to hearing from you if you're interested in learning more about our developmental psychology program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Todd Thiele. I'm the director of the Behavioral and Integrative Neuroscience program in the Department of Psychology of Neuroscience here at UNC Chapel Hill. The main focus of our research in our program is to study the neurobiology of drug and alcohol abuse. Now I have two graduate students in our program, Elena and Shveta, who will introduce themselves, briefly describe what they're doing in their research projects, and let you know what they like about our research program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shveta, and I'm a fourth-year graduate student in the BIN program. I work in Dr. Donald Lysle's lab, and my research experiments focus on studying the effects of heroin administration and withdrawal in a preclinical animal model. And our lab is specifically interested in looking at the alterations in neuroimmune effects, specifically in the hippocampus of the brain. And one thing I really like about our program is the ability to branch out into different aspects. So for example, a lot of times people think that being in a doctoral program, you have to move on to academia, but our program really emphasizes a well-rounded approach. And so we get to learn about alternative careers outside of academia in our weekly seminar series.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elena. I am a second-year student in also the BIN program, and I am a member of Dr. Charlotte Boettiger's lab. And my research specifically focus is to identify neurobiological differences in young adults who have a history of binge drinking alcohol during adolescence. So we use different behavioral tasks to look at cognitive flexibility and also neuroimaging methods like fMRI to detect mechanisms that might mediate this relationship between alcohol misuse and cognitive inflexibility. And I guess it's a good thing I like many things about the program because Shveta actually kind of stole mine. So I would like to echo what she said. And another thing I really enjoy about our program is I feel it's like family, even from my limited time of being here. We all get along really, really well together, and faculty members don't just focus on our research development, but also our professional development, like Shveta said, by inviting speakers with different backgrounds and different jobs that are not only inside academia. And also, I think a big thing is they care about our mental health, which I think is super important as a graduate student and definitely helps me thrive because I know they'll be understanding.
Hi, my name is Hannah Morgan, and I am a third-year graduate student in the Cognitive program here at UNC, and I work with Dr. Joe Hopfinger. Broadly, my research revolves around the neuromechanisms of attention. That's what we're interested in as a lab. And in our lab, we use various methodologies, including functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, EEG, as well as neurostimulations techniques, which is really exciting. And specifically, I'm interested in using neurostimulation to examine the roles of theta and gamma in various aspects of attention. Additionally, I'm working on an fMRI project where I look at cognitive training and the impact it has on the neuromechanisms of attention and working memory.
Hi, my name is Mac Woodburn. I'm a fourth year in the Cognitive program, and I work with Jessica Cohen.
Great. And tell me a little bit about the research you do.
Yeah, so my research broadly looks at how brain development occurs during infancy and childhood, and specifically how brain networks help support cognitive development during that period.
What do you mean by brain network?
Yeah, so brain networks speaks to how, in the field of cognitive neuroscience, we've kind of shifted into understanding the brain as a network and how there's different regions across the brain that communicate and connect to each other as networks. And so I'm really interested in how that kind of organization of the brain as a network, how that's really important for brain development and for a child's cognitive functioning.
Hello, my name is Asahan Imamoglu.
Yeah, and so can you tell me what kind of research you do?
I currently study episodic memory impairments in people at risk for schizophrenia. So I specifically look at children and adolescents who are genetically at risk for developing schizophrenia, meaning that their likelihood of getting schizophrenia is much higher than people who don't have particular genes. And I study how their memory is influenced by this genetic risk.
Great, and can you tell me, why did you come to UNC for your graduate program?
It definitely had a lot to do with how welcomed I felt personally. I felt like my advisor really wanted me to be there. Everybody else wanted to be there, wanted me to be there. And I could feel that this was not going to be an unhealthy working environment for me, where people were really going to try their best to support me. Yeah. So that's I would say is my number one reason for coming to UNC, is just how welcoming it is.
Hi, my name is Elise Williams. I'm a fifth year in the Cognitive program, and I work with Jennifer Arnold.
And can you tell me a little bit about the research you work on? What do you do?
So currently I'm really interested in language comprehension, and particularly I'm interested in how people's experiences with language affect how they understand language.
And how are you getting at that? What are some of the methods you're using?
And so one of the ways that we get at this is perhaps by understanding people's experience with print exposure over their lifetime. So how does your external experience with books or with spoken language, how does that affect how you understand language?
And tell us, what is the research that you're currently working on?
So currently I'm interested in how people's experiences with language interact with how they actually comprehend language. So for example, one of the tools that we use to grasp people's overall experience with language is something called the author recognition task, which just measures how much print exposure they've had over the course of their life. But that could be anything from the types of books that you've read or that have been read to you. And so the task itself is just measuring any kind of print exposure that you've had. And it's just, so basically we collect this information by asking you to identify author names from a list of names.
Yeah, cool. And tell me, why did you come to UNC?
I think one of the biggest reasons why I decided to come to UNC was because of the culture
of the program, and especially the interactions with the grad students, and just seeing how supportive of an environment that it could be for me. As far as feeling like I could ask questions openly, feeling like I could also just kind of have a support group, because going through graduate school is hard. So it's nice to know that you can talk to others about what you're going through and kind of bounce ideas off of other people as well.
And where does your funding come from? Do you have to pay for things yourself here, or?
So as far as funding, there are a couple options, and I've done 2 of those. So one of my sources of funding came from teaching. So I have TA'd for classes, and I've also been an instructional assistant.
What about research? Have you ever been funded with research?
Yeah, and so the other type of funding opportunity that you have is through a grant that could come from the PI that you're working with. And so I've also been funded by working on different projects that are related to the grant that my advisor has.
All right, hi, my name is Jennifer Arnold, and I'm a professor in the cognitive program at UNC Chapel Hill. I'm also the director of the cognitive program. And I do research on what's going on in your head as we use language. What are the cognitive mechanisms that allow you to bring your thoughts together and turn them into words and sentences? And my particular interest is how we use language in context. So how do you choose the words that are right for the situation?
Are you interested in pursuing a clinical degree at UNC? Well, you're in luck. Some members of the Jones Lab are here to discuss some questions you may have.
Hi, I'm April Highlander. I'm from Union, West Virginia, and I received my undergraduate degree from West Virginia University.
Hi, my name is Madison. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to undergrad at the University of Virginia.
Hi, I'm Raylan Lysle. I'm from New Jersey, and I went to undergrad at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Some incoming students may be unfamiliar with clinical psychology or what it is. What would you say to them, April?
Students who pursue a PhD in clinical psychology are usually interested in the intersection of research and clinical work with either children, adolescents, adults, and/or family.
Some may wonder what that looks like in practice. Raylan, can you elaborate?
Our program at UNC offers a wide variety of clinical research opportunities for students to participate in as clinicians, like first episode psychosis, behavioral activation for substance use, exposure therapy for anxiety disorders like OCD, and behavioral treatment for young kids with disruptive behavior disorders, just to name a few.
Interesting insight, Raylan. Now let's head to Madison to see what a day in the life of a clinical grad student looks like.
Students in the clinical program engage in a variety of experiences. In a typical day, we may attend courses, TA or teach our own classes, conduct research, and see clients in either one of our in-house clinics or one of our off-campus practica.
Thanks, Madison. Now, April, can you remind us of the timeline for a student in the clinical program?
Typically, students in our program take 5 years to complete their training, with an additional year on their clinical internship, which is required for a PhD in clinical psychology. During this time, students receive a stipend and their tuition is covered, usually through serving as a teaching assistant, teaching their own courses, working on faculty grants, or from their own fellowships.
For more information about the program, you can visit our website at clinicalpsych.unc.edu.